Hello everyone, it's Simon here with a review of Super Toy Cars 2. This game's in early access and has been on PC for quite some time in that state, although in December there was a big update that added a career mode and lots of customization elements to the game, so I kind of feel like it's in a meaty stage where I can provide constructive feedback to the developer, who was kind enough to send me a copy to do so. This game is available for 1 or 2 players in local multiplayer. You can race online as well, however I've not been able to actually get a lobby of other people to test that out with. So the game doesn't have a huge online multiplayer base, so don't necessarily dive in straight for that. However, it is a big step up from the original Super Toy Cars, which was available on PlayStation 4, which is the version I've got, and I think I've got a PlayStation 3 version as well. It might have been a cross-buy. But in terms of the breadth and depth of what is available in terms of vehicles, tracks and modes, this is a big step forward for Super Toy Cars as a franchise. Here you have the normal racing mode without power-ups and with power-ups. They're considered as 2 separate modes. A time trial, a destruction derby kind of bowl event, and a death race as well, which is kind of where you can take people out with your power-ups and that's the end of them. Elimination is there as well, so lots of different staples, but they're all kind of present, which they were kind of-ish in the original, but not in a really easy, manageable menu state where you can change, say, like the AI difficulty, laps available, all of that kind of stuff. Now, the best thing that Super Toy Cars 2 has going for it are the environments and the graphics. They're big, they're bold, they're colourful, and they evoke that nostalgia for me personally of Micro Machines, but you're actually down in the 3D element of it. For what is a very small studio, they've done quite a lot of really good things with the environments around them. I really like the fact that you've got different rooms, like the kitchen's available. You're diving around like a barbecue with sausages flying everywhere, and the fact that one of the key elements for Super Toy Cars 2 is that the environment around you has lots of different destructible elements that kind of crash onto the track and they can slow you down. So like if you're in the child's play area, Lego bricks are flying everywhere, and if you just kind of get caught up with a few of those, it will slow you down, and sometimes that's the difference between you winning and losing a race. Same as if you've been caught out by a wild sausage on the barbecue or loads of casino chips in the casino areas. It's just it adds an element of gameplay that's kind of missing in a lot of other like karty style races of this type. The kind of slight downside to a lot of this though is that there's an awful lot of invisible walls, and some items you will clip up against and some it will let you drive through, and there seems to be very little consistency over what does what, particularly when the game starts to go into multiple branches in across a track. And some of the tracks actually take a couple of minutes to get round for a lap on some of the big juicy ones, and they'll have multiple paths that you can take, and sometimes like you feel like you can get lost in the middle and other times it won't, and then you'll kind of get lost in, say, like grass or something like that. It feels wildly inconsistent, and that's kind of a bit of a big shame. However, the biggest complaint that I have with Super Toy Cars 2 is with its handling. Now, these types of games live and die by the handling of what's available in a kart racing game. It needs to be accessible in general, and it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be, it's going to sound posher than I mean it to be, but it needs to be congruent with how the tracks and the game is designed to be driven. So, and this is where Super Toy Cars 2 has a lot of work to do for me personally. So when you're trying to dive round a corner, these cars understeer like a boat going through an oiled, slicked 6-pack of abs. I can't think of a better way to say it. They just don't turn, and it doesn't matter which type of car you go for, it just doesn't turn. And then when you this game has a drift mechanic as well, so you have to press and hold the drift button, and then the car will kind of slide into it eventually, and will then kind of drift around. And the longer you hold drift, the tighter the circle that your cornering will go, and then your drift will also hit the boost meter up on the top of your screen. The boost meter will only kick off once it's full, and it only gets increased up to that full margin by drifts, jumps, and hitting of enemies as well. Now, the problem with the drift is that it starts out really, really understeery and then hits an oversteer point. But because it slows your car down so much, it's actually quite often better to just not bother drifting and just come off the accelerator, do a little bit of brake feathering and get round the corner rather than drift itself. So it kind of makes the whole mechanic a bit null and void, particularly when you're going around some of the really tighter sections of the track. And the reason why you're doing the tighter sections of the track is that it's better and quicker to just smash off the walls, because you lose less time and the game respawns you quicker than if you actually take the time to have prowess and finesse and get around the corners. So it feels a little bit off there. The other thing is that when it gets into the long corners where you're constantly turning right for like 5 seconds or so, the drift mechanic then fails there as well, because you have no way of being able to kind of feather on and off the drift as you go round, because each time you come off of the drift your car slows down so dramatically that it's pointless to do so. So you'll do maybe a little bit of a drift at the beginning or at the end, hope that it will fill up your boost meter far enough so that you can kind of recover what you've lost with the boost and get slightly ahead, but it just feels too much like a risk versus reward, and the drift feels completely separately built compared to how all of the tracks are designed, so that it doesn't really fit what it is built to race around. I hope that makes sense, because it's a really weird nitpick to go for, but it comes out in every corner, in every track. That very rarely does it feel like the car physics that you're driving are designed for the tracks that you're playing around, and it mismatches then against the colourful, cutesy, childlike explosion extravaganza of graphics that are everywhere, that's designed to make you come to life and feel playable and enjoyable, and everything in this game screams sluggish. So yeah, a bit of a shame for that. One thing that I do like that has carried over is that when you do lay a mine or something like that, you've got like a power-up cam in the left-hand side corner of the screen, and so you can kind of see the damage you're causing for people behind. That's all good as well. The power-ups work perfectly fine. Didn't run into any major problems with that. And yeah, the career mode is serviceable. It's fine. It doesn't do anything like exceptional or out of the tin, but it does help you accrue more money so that you can then buy more cars and more designs, that kind of stuff. So you can be happy to grind away in that. It's just that the issue is that when it then comes to local multiplayer, it's going to be a 2-player multiplayer, not the 4 that you quite often get with kart games. And the online seems already dead on arrival, which is a bit of a shame. I think this game would probably work really well if you was playing with Steam Remote Play as well, because that would be a good way to get people on board and do something a little bit more chunky with the experience, and kind of run your own kind of mini league fun offline in a spreadsheet or something like that. So yeah, I have to say my overall impression of Super Toy Cars 2 is underwhelming. It feels like if the game had finessed and was a little bit more structured, I guess, with how it does its handling so that it's more responsive, I think that would improve the game no end at all. And then it just needs to be consistent over what it thinks is an invisible wall and what it doesn't. The other thing as well is that it needs to balance out risk versus reward with its boosting system, and also risk versus reward of actually bothering to take the corner or not, because particularly on the narrow tracks where there are walls on either side, it is quicker to just smash up against the wall and get respawned, because it respawns you at speed, rather than having to wait for your drift for you to get round the corner to kind of re-pick and reshoot yourself back up again. So I hope that was informative. I hope for the developers that was good constructive feedback. If you do have any questions about the game or anything like that, please do leave them below. I'll be keeping my eye on it anyway, because especially we've not had like a really juicy Micro Machines-y style game for a little while. Hopefully this will be something that will develop into something a little bit chunkier and better than what it is in its current state. So, thank you very much for watching. You guys take care. Bye for now. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.